What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the podcast, Talk with Videos, episode 198. In today's episode, we got a first part of a four-part series. We're going to look at the Olympic rosters and the Four Nations rosters and to see the comparisons between my predicted rosters, the Four Nation roster, and the Olympic roster to see how well these teams did. So let's get straight into it. All right, this episode is all about the United States, the team that was a runner-up in the Four Nations, lost to Canada by 1 goal. They announced their roster, and honestly, this roster is not much different from that Four Nations roster. Let's get into the roster. It's going to be Boldy, Connor, Eichel, Gensel, Hughes, Keller, Larkin, Matthews, Miller, Nelson, Thompson, Tkachuk brothers, and Trocheck for the forwards. For the defense, we got Faber, Hanifin, Hughes, Jones, McAvoy, Sanderson, Slavin, Werenski. For the goalies, Hellebuck, Ottinger, and Swayman. The new additions to this roster is Clayton Keller, Tage Thompson, Quinn Hughes, Seth Jones. Now, there's not really much turnover between this team and last team. I think the last team in the Four Nations was actually a very good team. I didn't think really anything was a problem. The bad thing was a couple of injuries did happen. I think losing McAvoy at the end of that series or in that end of that tournament really did change the dynamic of the defense there. Jake Sanderson honestly looked pretty good adding into that defense, so pretty solid replacement at the time. Goalies did not change at all. I'm not surprised. Those are very good goalies. Hellebuck has had a tough year this year. Winnipeg's not doing all that great, but I still think Hellebuck's a great goalie. Can he get it done in the quote-unquote playoff setting of this tournament? I hope so, but that's definitely got to be lingering in the back of their head. Ottinger, very solid goalie. That's honestly would be my starter going into the Olympics. I think he's going to be the number one, but I could see Hellebuck taking that spot. I think Swayman will be the third guy again. Swayman's ready if his name is called for, but I don't think Swayman's going to play this tournament unless injuries do happen. But Ottinger would be my number one, Hellebuck 2, Swayman 3. So the roster turnover, not that much. Now let's look back. Back in February of 2025, I made a roster for all four teams, USA, Canada, Sweden, and Finland, comparing how well they did in that Four Nations roster, giving a roster spot for the Olympics, plus adding and subtracting players onto that team. So if you're curious on what I did on that one, go check out the past episodes. I made 4, actually made 5. I made a Team Russia one just in case Russia was going to be changed in 2026. Unfortunately, that will not change the status. We will not see Alex Ovechkin, Evgeny Malkin at the Olympics. But for the U.S., honestly, I did pretty good, about 80% guessed correctly. A couple of the big ones that I did name, though, that I was very happy about. Clayton Keller, Tage Thompson, and Vinny Trocheck. I think a lot of people didn't like what Trocheck did in that Four Nations. I thought he did fine, and he was a good enough player to get in there again, so I'm glad that they added him back. Keller, I think, was one that needed to be on this roster the first time around. I'm glad he got his chance. Tage Thompson adds a lot of size. I had him initially. They're bringing him for this. So I'm happy about guessing those guys correctly of those ones. The goalie situation, I pretty much got the 1-2 correct. I did not get Swayman, but Swayman did not play at all that tournament, so I thought might as well get somebody else a chance. Maybe someone else will step up this upcoming season. I think Joey Daccord was that guy, but Joey not getting called up for the Olympic roster. He actually could have played for Canada as well, not called for either team, which to me is very surprising. Joey Daccord, very good this year in Seattle. Other teams or other players that I left out this list, though, JT Miller, Brock Nelson, Seth Jones, Jake Sanderson. Sanderson was just a shoo-in guy. He was going to be that 7th, 8th guy on this roster. Ended up playing well, but just didn't think there was going to be a chance he made this team. Congrats to him, though. He did. Seth Jones, I really liked to see him, what he'll do at this Olympics. JT Miller, Brock Nelson, 2 older guys that I'm just not a huge fan of. Brock Nelson doesn't do much for me. JT Miller, good leadership role, but I didn't know if he was going to fit in with these young crowd of this team. Fortunately for him, he did, and same with Brock Nelson, so we'll see what happens with those 2 guys there. But ones that I did include that did not make this roster, Jason Robertson. I think a lot of people think Jason Robertson should be on this roster. I'm also one that's very surprised that he's not on this roster. He's one of the highest scoring U.S. players in the last 2-3 seasons. Robinson, top 10 in the league all the time when it comes to points, goals. So I'm not sure why he's left on this roster outside the fact that he is kind of one-sided. His defensive side of him is not all that great. But him getting goals down and dirty in the front of the net, definitely think the U.S. could use a lot of. So Jason Robinson, one that I added that did not make it. Cole Caulfield, I think just the same points. I think his size, though, honestly, will take him back a little bit. So I think that's the reason why he did not get added. But I would have had Cole Caulfield on this team. John Carlson, older veteran guy from the 2014 Olympics. So he's already has the experience of being at the Olympics. I think he could have been added to this roster. So that was a little disappointment, in my opinion, to not have him. Adam Fox, kind of surprised one that did not make it as well. I'm kind of 50-50 about it. I think Fox still might make the roster based off of injuries. I think he'd be the first guy up when it comes to the defense. So maybe Fox does make it, but at least at the initial ones, he is not. So a little surprising there. And then we already talked about Joey Daccord, so we won't mention it again. So ESPN came out with their snub list for every team. Of the 4 teams, we're only going to talk about those teams. Obviously, with this one, U.S. Caulfield, we already talked about Fox, Robinson, Alex DeBrincat. I don't really think he got snubbed. DeBrincat's fine, but to be honest, I wouldn't take DeBrincat over Patrick Kane scoring his 500th career goal. He's already been in the Olympics. He's already been in that situation, that setting. I think Patrick Kane would have been a good person in there. I think that one could have been a little bit of a snub. Lane Hudson, younger kid, scoring a lot. Not too sure what else he needs to get into that lineup, but he was quote-unquote snubbed. Matthew Nyes, Chris Kreider, Jackson Lacombe, Alex Tuck. Of these 4, I think probably Matthew Nyes would probably be the snub of the 4, but honestly, I don't agree that any of those 4 should probably make the roster. Chris Kreider could have made the roster, but older guys, if you're going to take JT Nelson or JT Miller and Brock Nelson, I don't think you're going to bring another guy, older situation guy, in Chris Kreider, so I don't think any of those 4 are snubs. That's just my opinion. So looking at the rosters, do I think the 4 Nations roster is better? Do I think the Olympic roster is better? In my opinion, I think the Olympic roster is better. I think the defense looks better, adding Seth Jones and obviously getting Quinn Hughes. Hughes did not play because of injury. I think adding him makes the defense 10 times better. And him with Brock Faber playing over in Minnesota right now, getting that chemistry over in the Olympics, I think is just going to be perfect with those two. So really excited to see what this defense core does for the United States. For the options, I think there's still some fun options here. I still have some question marks. Jack Hughes did not play well in that 4 Nations. Will we see a same performance with him in the Olympics? I think he was a little starstruck, did not have enough time and space as he expected. Can he be the normal Jack Hughes we see in the New Jersey Devils lineup? I hope so. But he could be a question mark in my opinion. I'm really excited to see what Keller does if he's in that lineup. Same with Tage Thompson. I think what Buffalo is doing right now and him really, really special. And I think Thompson could be a special guy in this lineup. Might not score all the goals, but he's going to be a big guy to try and move around. Maybe he gets himself into some big situations for the United States. And then obviously for the goalies, they're the same goalies as before. I think they have the best goalie pool that they can of all the nations going to the Olympics, so I'm not surprised at all. So huge bonus for the United States there. All right, that would do it for this episode. Thank you guys for listening. 198 episodes in the books. If you guys want to go check out the original episode of me talking about the 4 nations, what my predicted Olympic roster would be based off of those performances, I'll leave the link on the screen below, or at least down below. You'll be able to find that to listen or watch that episode. But we got 3 more episodes to go. We're going with Canada on the next one, so make sure you guys stay tuned. Hit that like, subscribe, that bell icon so you guys are notified when episodes of that one or episodes like this one do drop. So make sure you guys check that out. We appreciate you guys so much. Have an awesome rest of your day, and we'll see you guys later.